This cannon is really cool. Brought our Starlink. One of the best ways to clean Roman coins is actually to soak them in olive oil. Hey everybody, my name is Chase Pipes. I'm the owner and operator of the Smoky Mountain Relic Room, which is the largest diversity of history for sale anywhere in North America, as well as one of the creators and the host of Chasing History, the YouTube Discovery series where we show you how history is found. One of the things that we're going to try to do is we're going to start a vlog series, basically show you guys the behind the scenes on everything history related that we do, that we're about. You know, people don't really understand just how big of history nerds we are. And we're going to show you starting with me. So we're here out on my farm. This is my garden, or at least one of the two gardens. I've always wanted to do one of these fence construction styles. This is called a wattle fence. It's a really early fence construction style that they have going back to before the Romans. They have it in archaeological context in England going back before the Romans. Just a really simple, you cut saplings down and you just weave it in through. But this was a very primitive and very easy and very early fence construction in order to keep other critters from eating your precious food that you're trying to grow. And even here in the 21st century, we know the need to protect our food sources from the evil groundhogs that plague our existence. So come on down to the cabin and I'll show you guys around. So this is my cabin, my house. I built it about 20 years ago. One of the things that I did that I've always wanted to do was to clear the land with an axe and a handsaw. So you can see the cabins on the edge of the woods. The woods used to actually come out to here. So every day after work, I would come out here and I cleared the land literally with an axe and with a hand cross-cut saw and cut down every tree, which was such a stupid idea because then we had to pull up the fences and it was a lot easier when the trees were intact. But still, always wanted to do that, so we did it. So built the house. All of the cedar that's on the house here, I actually dug all of this. I built this house back in '07, and so there was a huge construction boom that was going on in our area during that time. And they were taking so many farms and making them into subdivisions. So I wanted some cedar, and I was noticing that in all of these subdivisions, they were cutting down all the trees and piling it all up and burning it. So I would load up my tractor and chainsaw on a trailer and drive to all these future subdivisions and would dig all this old growth cedar out of these burn piles and rescued all of it. So that's what all this cedar came out of, is all of these piles. And then I did this cedar railing that goes all the way around. And then I did something really neat here is I had the railing go all the way around the house. I've kind of taken it off, but I created these cups to where if I wanted the railing up, I could just pop the railing in the cup and then boom, I have a railing. And if I wanted to take it out, I just pop the railing out and set it to the side so that I could enjoy the view. So, but I'm just apt to, as I'm old now and my son is no longer little, he's now every bit of almost 18, I just leave the railing out and just hope I don't fall into my garden. Well, come on in. So one thing that I don't really do is show people my home. So you guys are very, very welcome. This is all new to me. I am a collector also, and I have been since I was a really little kid. Collected shark teeth and fossils and arrowheads and just all the things that one would collect. And so I've kind of, I've always had collections of things my whole life. And when I built this place, I wanted this to be a reflection of, of basically my heart, my home collection. But as over the years, the collection has kind of evolved. One of the things I'd love to do is I'd love to build a museum one day, but a museum of all of not only human history, but all of Earth's history as well. So in my, capacity as buying and selling artifacts, fossils, minerals, meteorites, I have kept the best of the things that I've come across, the things that tell the most unique stories I've kept. And my house is the repository of those things, in which one day it's the nucleus of what will be, I hope, a really cool museum of the Earth's history. And I'm going to show you some of those pieces now. So come on in. We'll show you a little bit of the house. Artifacts literally everywhere. The fireplace is the thing that a lot of people comment on a lot about. So this fireplace is all of this limestone came off the farm. I spent a couple months every day after work walking the farm and digging all of this limestone up by hand off of the property. So it all came off of the property, including this big slab here. That's one big solid piece of limestone that come off the farm. And then me and this old African-American World War II and Korean War vet built this fireplace. He was a master mason of over 60 years, and this was his very last project. And it was such an honor to get to build this with him. And he was so old, he really couldn't lift much, so I did all the heavy lifting. He would just mix the mortar, make sure it got right. He would plop the mortar down, and he'd tell me, I'd pick what rock we wanted, he'd tell me where to put it. And so together we built this. But I did something kind of neat. Behind this hearthstone is a Mountain Dew bottle. And on that Mountain Dew bottle is a piece of paper that has written basically the story of us building this fireplace, you know, to whomever is reading this, you know, myself and, you know, and I told the whole story of us building this fireplace. And at the very end of it, I wrote, by the way, if you're reading this, fuck, can I cuss?
I can believe it.
Okay. At the very end of this, if you're reading this, fuck you. You ripped out my fireplace. I hope you feel like shit. I'm going to haunt you forever. Because the only way they're going to read that message is if they rip out this fireplace. If in 100 years some smart-ass somebody comes in here and wants to revamp this house, they're going to rip this fireplace out, and I want them to feel terrible. So anyway, that's what's behind here. This ash that's hanging up here, I cut it about we cut it about a year before the house was built, and it was just too cool of a piece to cut up into firewood, so we saved it. And when I was looking for something really cool to make a mantle out of, we utilized this ash. So we cut it flush and then hollowed it out with a gutter adze to take some of the weight off, and then bolted it to the wall and then built the fireplace up to it. But around the fireplace, there's a lot of, you know, really neat, unique artifacts. Oh, I'll show you guys something cool. If you want to not have to start your fire every day from scratch, just cover it up with ash at night. So I generally light my fire once a year, and then I never have to strike a match again. And every night before I go to bed, I cover it up with ash. So I haven't uncovered it today, so I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So down in here is last night's fire. If I scrape all the ash away, I'm going to have a whole bed of hot coals underneath here. And we'll use these hot coals. That will be the nucleus of tonight's fire. So I'll throw some kindling on top of it. And then throw some wood. And we'll walk away. And we'll come back here in about 10 minutes and we'll see if the fire's going. So it shouldn't be that long and the fire go. One of the things I love to do is I love to cook over the fire. So I've got a lot of neat antique cooking implements. This is one. This is a really cool grate. What you would do is you would rake your coals out. And you would take this grate, and you'd put it just before the coals, and you would lay whatever meat that you had on the grate, and it would cook it. But it's cocked up at an angle, not necessarily for the heat, but to collect the grease. And you see down here this little tray, they would collect the fat and the grease from the meat or whatever you were cooking in this tray. Now, why would they do that? Why in the 1790s, 1900, or 1790s, 1820s, why were they collecting grease? Was it because they were obsessed with being skinny? No. What they would do is most of your candles were made of tallow or animal fat back then. If you were to walk into homes back in the during the Revolutionary War, if you were to walk into cabins or people's homes, one thing that you would notice is how greasy the walls and the air felt. It's because at this time, most Americans heated their home with tallow candles. So they would be collecting their grease in order to make candles out of. Is that not cool? So, yeah, another neat little bit of history. These are pretty cool little things. These are pot pushers. These are 18th century. So if you wanted to get a pot closer to the fire, you don't want to reach in and grab it. So you just simply have these little pushers, and you would just push it closer to the fire as you needed. So, and then of course, some few prehistoric things that I've picked up over the years. This is a really cool little pestle. But what's neat about this is a mortar used to grind corn with. But what's neat is on the other side, it has a little nutting stone on it as well. This is where they would crush up acorns or walnuts or chestnuts or whatever to get the holes out of. And then on the reverse side, they would use this to make their meal, to make their bread out of, which is kind of cool. So that's kind of a neat piece. And then this is the pestle for it. And both of these came from here in East Tennessee. And then this is another neat piece. This is another nutting stone, but what's interesting about this nutting stone is these gashes here. Why are all these lines and gashes here across this stone? Well, a lot of Native Americans were using bone tools, and they would need a way to sharpen those bone tools. And so they would use a sandstone like this as a way to sharpen those bone tools, and just over time you get these grooves. So this was somebody's groove. Hey, look at that. We got a fire going. That is a very easy method to get your fire going. So just like tonight, what I'll do is I'll just take my ash that's on the side, and I'll just throw it on top of it and walk away. And what it'll do is those coals will smolder. I've even gotten them to smolder, depending on the type of wood I was using, for like 4 days. And then you just rake it, throw a little stuff on it. You never have to light a fire again. And I only light my fire at most once a year, which is kind of cool. Ha! All right, the mailman just came, brought our Starlink. So this is something that we're really excited about that we're getting to do. So this is the one for the house. So when we film out here, we've got really good internet for out here. But one of the things that we do is we travel to a lot of very, very remote locations. I mean, believe it or not, there's still a lot of places in the United States that don't have service or high-speed internet. And so what we're getting is we've got a Starlink. It's called Starlink Go or Starlink Backpack or what? Roam. Starlink Roam. Basically, no matter where we are, we will be able to have internet. So we plan on doing a whole lot of live broadcasts from in the field. So we're going to be in the middle of nowhere where there is no internet reception, looking for the history that we look for, whether it's dinosaurs or meteorites or crystals or artifacts or whatever the heck we're looking for. We're going to have internet there, and we are going to take you with us. And as far as I know, we're the only people that's ever tried to do this. And so we're going to take you into the field live to show you history as it is discovered, when it is discovered. So yeah, so this is the one for the house, and I can't believe this is it. Like, that's what's nuts, dude. This is it. This is all. Like this is the life-changing technology. This is how I communicate with the world. So, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I have no idea what to do with this. I don't know what to do with any of this. So, I mean, that can live outside. Well, I guess it can. That's it? Are you serious? That's all this is? Huh. Okay. So, yeah. Instructions. I don't know what to do. Like, what do we do? What am I don't know. This is your area of expertise. Here, you want me to take the camera? And here, give me that. Give me. Here. All right, now it's your turn. There. What are we doing? What are we doing, Isaac?
So
We
we will find the best spot outside for this to go, and then we'll bring it in and connect it to a router and go from there, and you'll have internet here.
Yeah, see,
But-
I don't know how to do these things. Isaac knows how to do these things. I don't know how to do these. If we are at a horse, I would be totally comfortable with doing the horse, but I don't have a horse here, so we have internet to play with. Hey everybody, my name is Chase Pipes, and thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Chasing History. What a lot of people don't realize is that Chasing History is made possible by our business, the Smoky Mountain Relic Room. The Smoky Mountain Relic Room is the largest diversity of history for sale anywhere in North America, and our obsession knows absolutely no bounds. From meteorites to fossils, minerals, and artifacts covering every culture on the planet. We work directly with the men and women who are in the field discovering this history, and we offer it for sale to you for a very affordable price. We believe here at the Relic Room that everybody should be able to afford history, not just some random dude up on a hill, but everybody should be able to take this history and to protect it and to pass it down for future generations. And that is the opportunity that we offer you here at the Smoky Mountain Relic Room. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Chasing History. Now back to the episode. So that was a fun 2 hours. So we realized that this is not the one for the house. This is actually the Go. This is the one that we're really excited about, because this is a mount that we can take with us when we go out into the field. And this is something that we can, does that come out?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to break it. Oh, my luck, I'd break it. This is the Go that goes out into the field. And so this is the one that we'll take with us when we're out digging dinosaurs and when we're out showing you how dinosaurs are found. This, it's so freaking crazy, dude. This little device is going to be our connection to you when we're out in the middle of nowhere digging a dinosaur. So that was, like I said, fun 2 hours, but now we figured out exactly which one we have. So we're going to put all this stuff back. And yeah, we very much know how to use it and how it works. So we're going to pack this up and find a place for it in the tundra store in the truck, and then we'll take this with us on our next adventure. All right, so we're going to show you guys the rest of the house, but first I want to talk about my kitty. Come here, bear cat. So this cat was feral, and I trapped her. This was a wild cat. She's still a little wild and a little skittish. This is Bear Cat. So she was a wild cat that I trapped. I had a mouse problem in this house, like a really bad mouse problem. Like I opened the kitchen door and it was like one of those scenes out of a cartoon where all the mice just went, nobody move, everybody stay silent. And it was just 50 mice and me just standing there like, what the fuck? And then they all scattered. I was like, shit, I need a cat. So my brother told me about this wild cat that he had eating his food up at his house. So I went and set up a live trap and trapped Bear Cat here and got her back to the house. Somehow she got loose in my truck. She got out of the trap somehow and got loose, and I had to drive back with a wild cat loose in my car. I got back to the house, got mittens on and a sweatshirt, found her hiding underneath the driver's seat, drug her out. This cat was not freaking happy about any of this. Threw her in the house, shut the door, and she disappeared for 3 days. For 3 days, and she was totally gone. And I came out of my bedroom, walked in the living room, and here she was sitting in the floor, and she had 2 dead mice right next to her, just looking up at me like, so this is this what I'm here for? Is this what you want me to do? Murder things? You brought me here to murder every living thing in this house. And I'm like, yes, good job. If you do that, I will feed you and pet you and give you a place to live, but just murder every living thing that's in this house that tries to eat all of our stuff. And she has done a great job. It took about 1.5 years before she would let me pet her. And then it would take, and then when I would pet her, she would like freak out and like scratch and scar and draw blood and everything. And then now she's cuddly as can be. Like she gets on my chest at night and snuggles up and curls. But what's so cool about her is she will follow me all over this farm. If I go to the garden, she follows me up to the garden. If I go out into the woods on a hike, she follows me out in the woods on a hike. She's like a dog. This is a cat that's a dog that murders mice. It is epic. I love this cat so much. So this is my one and only animal. It's my bear kitty. So, okay, let's show you guys some of the rest of the stuff. So here's some of the things in the collection. Okay, this is a really cool thing here. So here's some really cool stuff right here, just some antiquities and artifacts. This came out of the James River. This is an 18th century Georgian goblet that was found by a diver in the James River. It's got GR on it for George Rex, who was King George III. So this is just a really cool 18th century tankard goblet that came out of the George River. That's got a really neat story to tell. This is a really neat piece. This is a piece of contraband gold that came off of the Atocha shipwreck. So the Spanish had a thing where all of the gold basically belonged to the crown. So it belonged to the King of Spain, so you couldn't have gold. So what they would do is during the process of minting the raw gold, occasionally guys would knock off little small bits of gold and trade them locally in South America. And sailors on ships would purchase these little things of gold and they would sew them into their clothing. And that way, when they got back to mainland Europe, they had a little bit of contraband gold with them. So they were often little puddles like this that would have been sewn into clothing. And well, the Atocha is a really famous shipwreck. It wrecked and killed all but 2 men on board. And this was one of those pieces that was found. It's really diagnostic because it's gold that shouldn't be there. And just how it's molded leads you to know that it's a contraband piece of gold. So that's a really cool piece of gold with a really neat story. Again, something I would love to put in a museum one day, or that needs to be in a museum one day. This is another really cool thing. This is a flea killer. And this flea killer, I bought a collection of stuff that came out of a drugstore that closed in the 1940s. What's really cool about this flea killer is that it now contains world famous DDT.
Good stuff.
This is the good stuff. So DDT was a chemical that was created in the 30s, I think, and was fertilizer on a lot of farm fields and an insecticide. DDT is incredibly powerful and potent, and what it did is it almost wiped out the entire bald eagle population of the United States because the birds would get it into their systems. It's not a forever chemical, but it's a pretty potent chemical that lasts several cycles. The birds would eat it, and it would weaken the shell of the birds, and that's how we almost lost the American bald eagle, was because of chemicals like this. It's now illegal. Because it's old, I think I'm okay to have it. Maybe not. I don't know. You could tell me if I should have this or not. Throw your thoughts down in the comments. I'd be curious. I'll go on a limb on that one. That's kind of a neat one. So come on, I'll show you guys some other stuff. This is a Triceratops horn that I dug about 4 years ago. I've got a lot of rocking chairs. This is a Triceratops. So this is a horn that came from Montana that I found out on a buddy of mine's ranch a couple years ago, and then another friend prepared it for me. But you can see the blood grooves in the fossil. Just a really cool and a pretty big Triceratops. So this would have been one of the 2 top brow horns on the animal. Switch gears up a little bit. These are 2 really cool. These are really cool cannons. So this is a really neat cannon. This is known as a swivel gun. So this is a cannon that was designed to rotate. It's got the original handle on it. It's got a date on it back here of 1791. I don't know if you can see the 1791 date or not, but it's dated right there. It's more than likely a French artillery piece, but what's really cool is the conversion that it's been through. So this would have had a touch hole where you would have put a wick and then hit it with fire, and that's what would have made the cannon go out. But sometime in its history, somebody put a percussion cap nipple down in it and installed a little hammer. What a percussion cap does is it's a little cap that when it's hit or struck, it creates a spark, and that spark ignites the gunpowder, which then fires it up. So they came up with this hammer to drop onto that percussion cap so that they could use it that way. A cannon like this would have been a really common sight on keelboats in the 18th and 19th century that would have plied the rivers. This one probably would have prowled the rivers of the American West in the 18 teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. This cannon is really cool. This is a really common banded cast cannon that was made in the 1850s. What's interesting about this piece is it still has the original carriage that it was mounted on. That is extremely rare. Most cannons are just the cannon part itself, not the cannon carriage. What's interesting is this is a naval style of cannon carriage, but this cannon never saw a Navy ship. This cannon was actually came out of near Pierre, North Dakota, out of a drugstore that was cleaned, or out of a trading post that was cleaned out in the 1940s. This cannon was found in a back room in that drugstore. I've got the whole paperwork and documentation on it. It's now under a lake. The town that it was in is now under a lake. But anyway, these were really popular fort cannons. What they would do is in western forts or outposts in the 1830s, 40s, and 50s would have deterrents. And that's what this cannon piece was a deterrent. Here's some artwork out of some of the early Mountain Men publications that kind of shows you in some of those Mountain Man era forts the types of cannons that they would have for deterrence against attack against Native Americans. So that's what type of cannon this is. It's just a really cool early Mountain Man artillery piece that you just don't see hardly at all, especially in the original carriage. It's the only one I've seen with the original carriage. This is a really neat piece right here. So this is a hadrosaur limb bone. So this is the head of a limb that is in the original sandstone rock that it was found in. And it just goes to show you the erosion processes that are taking place here. So where this sandstone rock had rolled out with the limb in it, and it has slowly started to erode, but you can see how the limb perfectly comes out and sets back down in there. But isn't that neat? That's just a really cool fossil. This is another neat little piece. This is a child's flintlock. So this is a standard flintlock, basically a miniature flintlock. This was probably made for a child of a really wealthy family. So this it's one of the smallest little flintlocks I've ever seen, but it's literally a miniature flintlock. Like, it is just such a cool little gun. Probably 1790s, 1800, 1810 at the latest on this piece. Just a neat piece. Some really cool... Oh, this is a cool piece. Back to dinosaurs. This is a Triceratops vertebrae out of the Hell Creek Formation. Hell Creek Formation was the very last formation of the very last dinosaurs that ever existed during this time. But what's cool is the bite marks on the vertebrae. The only animal that existed at that time that could scratch up a vertebrae like this would have been a T-Rex. So it's a Triceratops vertebrae that a T-Rex was chomping on. And all these scratches here are tooth marks from a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Is that not cool? So you see, that's what I'm talking about. Here are just really interesting, fascinating pieces of history that have a greater story to tell. That's the kind of things that I look forward to collect. Another really cool piece is this bottle right here. This is called a squat onion bottle, and these bottles are easily datable by the length of the neck. The taller the neck, the later the date is. The shorter the neck, the older the bottle is. So this is a squat onion. It dates between 1670 and 1690, so 1680 roughly. This came from a buddy of mine who makes a living diving for shark's teeth. And he was diving for shark's teeth in Charleston Harbor, right where the Ashley River dumps into Charleston Harbor. And that's where he found this bottle. So this is a squat onion bottle that was found in Charleston Harbor that dates to the 1780s. What's fascinating is Charleston was founded in the 1780s. So this is a Dutch onion bottle from the time of the founding of Charleston, South Carolina, found in Charleston, South Carolina. So this is one of the oldest European artifacts to come out of Charleston, South Carolina, is this bottle right here. And it's still got the barnacles on it, which is really cool. So that's a really neat piece of history. This is a cool Tyrannosaur vertebrae that I dug last year in the Two Medicine Formation. So this is a Tyrannosaur, not Tyrannosaurus Rex, but it's in the same family as Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is actually his grandfather, more than likely Gorgosaurus or Daspletosaur. They're two earlier, kind of smaller Tyrannosaurs, but much older, about 80 million years old on that, and T-Rex is about 60. Let's do this. one of the things that I do that I involve myself in is I also restore artifacts and antiques and fossils and minerals. Let's go downstairs to my restoration shop and I'll show you the setup. Come on. All right, guys. So welcome down to the shop. So this is where we got our metal detectors. You don't need one metal detector. You need 20 metal detectors. So this is where we got our metal detectors, our digging tools and picks. A lot of things I mess around with. This is a corn sheller that I'm working on. This is I just put in an apple orchard, so this is an apple mill that I'm working on that makes apple cider, a cider press. So I'm gonna restore that. My saddle, and then the restoration shop. It's coming this way. So this is a lot of the stuff that I've got in progress. These are all Civil War era rifle butts. So these were the butts from rifles. These all come off of a Civil War site near Virginia. So all these have got to be cleaned and restored. This is a really cool group. These are all artillery shell fragments that came out of Gettysburg, and they were found in the 70s. They were building a hotel near downtown, and as they were building the hotel, they came across all these artillery shell fragments, and we were able to collect those. There's just a lot of weird stuff. These are some. These are used. Oh, these are really cool. So these are tools that are used for making false arms during the Civil War. So you needed to create a deep socket in a false arm, and so this tool is designed to carve out that deep socket. This little branding iron, I'm going to clean up and work on. Just a really neat branding iron. I like it because it's CP. It's my initials. So that's why I kept that branding iron. This is a really cool table that we've got to put together, and I've got to fix up and make these letters stand out more. So this is Company H, 10th Regiment, Massachusetts, 85th Massachusetts Militia, which was a militia unit in Massachusetts during the Civil War. This was their table. And so we're going to put this table back together and make a display to where it'll mount on the wall. And so all that kind of stuff I do here in-house. So I've got all kinds of little projects like that I'm working on. Here's some Roman coins. One of the best ways to clean Roman coins is actually to soak them in olive oil for about a year. So these are coins that have been soaking since April of this year. So these are all different Roman coins, and what happens is when it's soaked in the olive oil, that olive oil will seep into that mud that's there, and will make it really easily, make it a lot easier to take off, because these coins are caked in a real thin layer of mud. So I'll go in there with a pick, and we'll do a whole video on how to clean Roman coins, because it's a lot of work to do. But this is the first process in cleaning Roman coins, is coating it in this stuff for a while. So, and just letting it soak in. So anyway, Roman coins. And then this is just a really neat little basket that needs some work done to it, so I'm going to clean it up. These are really cool. So these came out of Nashville, Tennessee, and these are Civil War era boots that were dug out of a dump in Nashville, where Titan Stadium is now, was once or I don't know what the football team is now, but it was the Tennessee Titans. When they were building that stadium, they hit the Civil War era dump. All right, and they basically destroyed this dump in order to build that stadium. So guys were going in where they had taken the fill dirt and were digging through it and finding and saving all kinds of awesome history and awesome artifacts, including this cache of shoes. So all of these shoes are all Civil War era military shoes that were cut up and thrown in the dump. And so what we're going to do is we're going to restore these and preserve them where they won't degrade anymore, and then put these in frames, and then put the story with it about what they are. So that's a big project. Here's some medieval stuff I'm working on here next. So some medieval riding gear, some stirrups, and a horse bit. So I'll take this through an electrolysis process, which will show you what that all is and what that all entails. So this is where I come down and I do these little projects like this. This is a really cool Coptic stone triopophy, which is used for religious services. So really pretty soapstone piece, but you can see the latches on it are broke. That's what it's supposed to be like, but a lot of them are broken or coming off. So what I'll do is I'll take sinew or another like material and re-drill and reset it to where these will stay on better, where they won't fall off and will be protected. So that this is a little mask, pig mask that I'm working on. So we'll clean this up. This has got, unfortunately, it's got a lot of mold on it. So we'll get the mold off of that, put some chemicals on it that will protect it, that will prevent the mold from coming back, and then get this cleaned up and then get a set on it where it can hang up and then be enjoyed and appreciated. Here's some more pot hangers that need to be cleaned up. This is a neat little project here. This is a neat little project here. So this is the cover of a medieval book. So all of the pages are unfortunately gone, but this is probably German medieval, probably 1400s. So what we're going to do is fit, styrofoam's just the base right now, but we'll fit it to where it will look like it has all the pages in it, and then we'll preserve it in a manner where the cover of the book can still be appreciated and used. So like this cover is pretty broken, so we're going to fix it. Another project is these are all little terracotta, pre-Columbian terracotta heads. And so what we'll do is we'll drill these heads out, and then we'll mount them on little mounts like that so that they can be preserved and protected. So that's a lot of the things that I do down here. Here's some stuff I just got finished working on. Cleaning these up. These are just some general antique tools and stuff, you know, a little pair of horse hoof trimmers, a little garden or little axe, some blacksmith tongs, and then these are really neat. And I'm making a base that these will set in. These are Viking era. These are traveling blacksmith anvils. So these are really small little blacksmith anvils. These came out of Eastern Europe, and what they would do is these would go into a block, and then you could work whatever iron or metal that you needed to work on this really small space. Because when you're working an anvil, like here's my anvil. When you're working an anvil, you don't need a big giant anvil. You just need something small to work on. And so I everything I've needed to do, I've done on this anvil. So that's what these were. These were just little tools, and they needed to be gone through the electrolysis process in order to stabilize them so that they no longer rust, so that the chemical reaction of rust stops, basically, which is the iron oxidizing. That's what you see all on here. That's iron oxidization. So that's iron acting with the water and with the oxygen, and it is slowly disintegrating this tool. Over here is where we've got our start of our prep lab over here. These are all of the dinosaur fossils that we found this past summer. So every single fossil that's on this table was in the ground, undiscovered 5 months ago. No human being had seen these fossils until 5 months ago. And my son and I went out and dug all of these fossils. That's a great Pachycephalosaurus vertebrae that Isaac's working on prepping. But we'll prep all of these out and preserve them, crack fill them, and then get displays on them to where they'll be good for display. So these are this is how dinosaur fossils are worked on, is processes like this. Here's a fossil fish plate that I'm currently working on. So it's just a lot of time just to go through and slowly chip everything out to slowly expose this fossil. It'll probably take me 10 hours. You can see the rest of the vertebrae going through here, and then this is the head of the fish. It'll probably take me about 10 hours to fully prep out this fish. So it's just something that we'll have to come back and do a whole. You'll just have to come back and we'll do a whole video on. Here's some stuff that we're making stands for now. So it's a nice hadrosaur vertebrae we got finished prepping and put on a stand. So information card will go from it. This is a cool piece. This is the very end of a duckbill dinosaur jaw. So that's the very end part of the jaw, and so it's ready for a stand. Here's the back end, the hinge of a duckbill jaw. So that's the back hinge in this part back here, and it's pretty much ready to go. So we'll put this on a stand. So, and then just some more Triceratops vertebrae, just things like that. So another really cool thing that we do is sometimes when we're out hunting sites, we come across all kinds of just really freaking epic, gorgeous pottery pieces. You know, some of this stuff is from the 20s, but some of this stuff is from the Civil War. So what do you do with all of this broken pottery? So one of the things that we're doing is we're taking it and we're processing these pieces and cleaning them up, where we're rounding off the edges, and we're going to drill them and make pendants out of them and jewelry out of them. So here's some pieces that only thing that they need doing is they just need to be drilled, and these are all pottery pieces that can now be pendants and where they can be worn and appreciated, and people really can enjoy using these pieces. So this is another really neat thing that, you know, we come down here, spend time, we prepare these pottery pieces up and start to work on them. Show you some more stuff. So here's another thing that we've got. So these are all, this came from this past summer. So these are all antique bottles that I dug down in Bisbee, Arizona. So what we'll do with all this stuff is we'll go through and we'll clean all this stuff up and get it prepared to where people can take it home and enjoy it. So these are all bottles that my son and I dug over the past summer, that we'll go through and we'll clean up and price and put out in the store. So you want to know where all the antique bottles come from? I mean, where we dig them, that's where all the bottles come from. And this just happens to be the latest group from Arizona, so that we've got. So that's it. This is the prep lab. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a series of a lot of videos down in here showing you guys how we prepare this stuff for the public, for the museum, because, you know, you got to keep in mind, you know, there's no school for this. There's no books. There's no, how do we get the fossils that we get or the artifacts that we get? We go out and we find them and we clean them and restore them ourselves, or we work with professional preppers that clean them and restore them. And we get them presentable in a way that where they are fully protected, where all you got to do is put it on the shelf and appreciate it. So this is some of the behind the scenes stuff that you guys will see us do. We're going to do a lot of these behind the scenes videos to show you everything that entails with the Smoky Mountain Relic Room, because not a lot of people know what all the Smoky Mountain Relic Room does. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to start showing you everything that the Smoky Mountain Relic Room does. Remember, guys, history.